Welcome to Job Sharing and Beyond, the Future of Work podcast that goes beyond the traditional 9 to 5. I am Karen Tischler, speaker, consultant, and host of the show, where we hear from global experts every other week to discover innovative solutions and tips on how to remain a relevant employer in the future. Welcome to a quick questions episode. This week it is split into two parts. This episode is with Aapta Garg and Doppel spitze. Doppel spitze is Collard and Sven Schnitzler. If you have missed part 1, I will put the link in the show notes. Part 1 is with Ellie Oldenburg and Eddie Lynn. Now let's get started with today's episode. Aapta Garg is a senior program officer with Promundo. In this capacity, Aapta has co-authored the latest edition of the State of the World's Fathers Report. Without further ado, here are Aapta's answers. What is your favorite color and why?
Oh, these are really tough questions. I don't know. I've always loved blue, like a deep, like sapphire blue. It just something about it just like attracts my eyes, just like the majesty around it.
And who do you admire the most?
I admire so many individuals that it's hard to name really quickly. I think, I've in this time of pandemic and crisis, I've been turning a lot to the writings of Arundhati Roy as kind of helping to kind of process and reflect, and also kind of to think critically about how to move forward in this.
And what is one of the things you would put on your bucket list?
I want to be able to travel to every country in the world. I think that's my main bucket list. I'm getting there.
And now, if you could teleport, and not just location-wise, but also time-wise, where would you go and why?
This is going to sound a little bit corny, but I would teleport to India on maybe the 50s or the 60s. My grandfather died when I was 1, so I never got a chance to meet him, but everything that people say is that he was a wonderful man, he was a saint. No one has a bad word to say about him. And so I think I would like an opportunity to meet him.
Wow. Now, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book is, I would say it's Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. I feel like I'm mispronouncing her name, so I apologize if for some reason she's listening to this. But I thought that it was so incredibly well done, just like the storytelling, the way the characters were developed, the way that you could just feel history and movement in every word that she said. So incredible. And recently I read CIrce by Madeline, which I also thought was such a transformative read. And I think just kind of a really beautiful rendition of a story that some may have heard, but in a different way. I think that's kind of where I tend to lie when it comes to books. Like, how do you tell a story that we may have heard, but tell it in a way that's new for us?
Now, what is the biggest myth in your area of work?
Biggest? Do we have another hour? One of the biggest myths is this idea of kind of the naturalization of violence, that violence is a natural thing, that men are prone to violence, that's kind of, you're going against biology almost. And that is absolutely a myth. Men can and are able to care. They want to care for their children, and they're not born violent. That's something that is socialized through communities, through messages, through norms, through other avenues. So we every time we walk into a community, we don't come in with the assumption that violence is inevitable and rigid and intractable, but that it's something that we can change and that we can adjust and reduce.
Now, what is the song you hear most often?
So I have 2 nephews and a niece. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, a lot of the songs I hear most often in my head are Daniel Tiger songs. But if I want to erase Daniel Tiger from my mind for a little bit, I always go back to Beyonce.
I've had it's a very interesting question, because as you just I've had people answer any type of children's song or two, so it's been very interesting to find out. Yes. So now my very last question, Aapta, is what advice did you get that was the most rewarding to you?
A reminder that your work is not your home, it's not your family, it's not your community, and at the end of the day, it's not what you're going to be valued for. So take those moments to, when you're looking back, to spend it with the people who care for you, who value you, who bring your life joy.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for inviting me, for bringing me in, and for a lovely conversation. This was really, really wonderful. Thank you so much.
And now it is time for Doppelt Spitze. Julia Collard and Sven Schnitzler. They are together running the marketing and sales department at a private university in Germany, as well as being the head of their consultancy Doppelt Spitze. And here are Doppelspitze's answers. So, Julia, what is your favorite color and why?
This is the most difficult question today. I think it's like pink, because I'm a girl.
I love pink and purple. I'm right there with you. So now, who do you admire the most?
My parents, for being such a great couple and for doing all the things for me and my sister their whole lives, for showing us the world and for making us the persons we are.
And now, what is your favorite book?
Never Ending Story.
I love that. I really did. Yes. What is one thing you would put on your bucket list?
I just wrote a book. That would be something that would have been on the bucket list. Seems like I have no wishes.
That's a good thing, I feel. So, what's the biggest myth in your area of work?
That leadership is something you only can do alone.
If you could teleport, where would you go and why? So that could be location, but it could be time as well.
I love traveling, so this is the first thing. So I can never decide. My favorite city of the world is Sydney. So I'd like to go to Sydney again. And since I heard that they open again in 2022, it's like makes me a bit sad. But I want to see Asia one time. So like China or Japan. So I was to the nearer Asia, but not to the very far end. Yeah.
Okay. What is the song you hear most often?
I'm like a radio. Listen to the radio. So I'm not having a special singer or songwriter or something like this. Music is important to me, but it's not something very, very special. So it's just like being the background.
Okay. Now the very last question. What advice did you get that was the most rewarding for you?
That I'm strong enough to have my own business, to start my own business. That there's the power and the possibility in me.
Thank you. I really feel that these quick question episodes provide an additional getting to know of my guests and provide a nice introduction to them. In the past, I have already recorded 2 more quick question episodes. The first episode had answers from Ali Caravella, Michael Ray, the Jobshare pair, and Shirley Torrey. The second quick questions episode was with Louisa Hanke, Robert Frischbier, Christy Reiber, Michelle Basler, and Jake Steiker. And then yesterday I created the first part of today's episode with Ellie Oldenburg and Eddie Lynn. I will be sure to be adding the links to all of these episodes in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We hope you gained valuable insights and new ideas. To keep listening to future episodes, please head over to iTunes or your favorite player and subscribe and give it a rating. We would very much appreciate a review and for you to share it on social media, so more people can start innovating in how they offer employment. Until the next time, goodbye!